What's happening, Andy here? I'm joined today by Ben Manning of etherFAX. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm great, Andy. How are you?
I am great. I am great. I am doing well in sunny Rochester, New York. We finally got that storm out of the way. It was a pretty wet weekend, lots of flooding going on up here. You are down in the Philadelphia area, is that correct?
That's right, just outside of Philadelphia.
All right, a couple hours down the road from etherFAX, who is in New Jersey, and wanted to take some time. etherFAX, one of our sponsors, wanted to take some time and do a little interview and catch up with what's happening at etherFAX. And you and I hadn't met until today, so it was a good opportunity to introduce myself to you and you to me and you to the viewers here. So let's take a step back, maybe talk about who is etherFAX. Tell me, what's the elevator pitch? Who's etherFAX?
Yeah, so it's a good way to start. So we're founded in 2009 by a couple of industry leading experts. And really, etherFAX was founded to be a secure document delivery platform. Fax is the backbone, but not meant to be solely a faxing company, more along the lines of a secure document delivery platform, using some patented technology to connect fax boards in the cloud, taking the fax boards out of the hardware out of the physical device, taking the presence out of hospitals, out of financial institutions, so you don't have to maintain that presence, and instead putting the faxing in the cloud for secure digital transformation of those documents as they're delivered from point A to point B.
So you guys do a lot of work in healthcare. I know when I talked with Paul Banco over there at etherFAX, we talked about security, about healthcare, BPO. When we talk about fax, we're not talking about plugging that machine, sitting standalone fax machine, right? This isn't 1995. We're not just plugging into a phone cable, right? This is all software based now. You're integrating into different hardware, different solutions. We talked earlier. So what brands you do integrate with all the hardware brands? Yes.
Yeah, we have a new service called the etherFAX Remote Integration Service. And so that allows us to integrate with any fax server, any MFP, any fax device, all the way up to any even third-party faxing applications, right? So if you are a third-party software that's sending or receiving faxes, we can integrate with those as well. So the etherFAX Remote Integration is new for us. But it allows us to connect to all the different devices as well as other third-party systems.
Very cool. Very cool. When people think, and we just talked about it a second ago, but I kind of want to get into it a little bit more. The perception of fax, right? Excuse me. It's not the coolest thing to sell in the office. It's not, it's antiquated. People think it's dead. It's gone. But it's not, right? It's still used, widely used in a lot of vertical markets. I just mentioned healthcare. Construction's another one. Legal is another one. There's a lot of rules and regulations that have not allowed scanning to completely take over and displace it. There are not a lot of companies who support fax anymore and who are still evolving and building software and workflow into that environment. So you're one of the few, one of the only ones I know who are implementing AI into it. And maybe take some time. Could you give me some background about that? How are you attacking this perception of fax that it's gone and it's not needed anymore? A, and then B, what are you guys doing? I know you have a big AI program. How does that fold into all this?
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. So yeah, our CEO, Paul Banco, he refers to fax as the cockroach of technology, right? We can't kill it as hard as we try. But to your point about not having the physical devices, I don't have a fax machine sitting on my desk. I'm not typing in numbers and hitting the button and having two modems hissing at each other. All of that's been removed, right? And we've removed it, and pretty much everyone has. We can support that if that's how you want to send a fax. By all means, etherFAX can support that. Wouldn't recommend it, but we can support it. So one of the things that's great about etherFAX is we've created a secure exchange network. We call it our SEND network, connecting over 6 million endpoints. And to your point, there's an awful lot of healthcare on the network. There's also banking, there's also legal, there's also insurance. So a lot of different endpoints going from end to end that allows for that secure digital transformation of a document going across a digital connection. So never leaves the network, never touches the phone line. It's just a digital transformation of a document from point A to point B. And really, that's how we're trying to change the fax industry, is to not think of it as two modems hissing at each other, but just a way to send a document from one point to another. And the way that we no longer think of mail as, the Pony Express or carrier pigeon, like nobody thinks of it that way. But it's still a way to get a letter from one place to another. You could use the mail, you could use email. Faxing is a similar thing, right? It is a really efficient way, and it is a secure way to get a document from one point to another. So we're just changing that document delivery to be a digitized workflow, and digitizing the process behind it. And then in terms of AI, really what we're doing, we've just recently announced a launch of our new AI services. And so the fax now, what we're delivering in terms of a fax, you can still type in someone's phone number, you can still hit the button and send off a document. What we do on our end for delivery of that document, typically a fax is a TIFF file, so just a picture or an image. What we are doing on our end is taking that particular file as it comes across, and we are delivering 3 different things out of that inbound message. So we can turn it into a searchable PDF. So not just a TIFF that's just a picture I can't do anything with, but a searchable PDF that I can open up the document. I can look for something within that document, whether it's an account number, patient first name, last name, date of birth, something along those lines. So now I can do something with that document, right? It makes it usable. The other thing that we're doing is we're OCRing the document, so optimal character recognition. So I'm pulling out all of the different text within that particular document, and I'm delivering that as either a JSON payload or an XML payload. I can do that via a fax. I can do it via our APIs. We've got a large API suite in our developer toolkit. And so what we're doing is we're changing the delivery mechanism. So instead of just an image, if you get an OCR result list with all of the text on that page, you can import that into a third-party software system. And then you can do all kinds of things. If I want to look up, is this patient here? Did I receive this fax? I'm looking for a particular fax that came in, but I'm not sure when it came in. Instead of opening up every single document and looking through them, you could use the OCR technology, look for particular keywords within a document, and have that come right to the forefront. And then the third thing that we're doing that's really exciting is we're using Microsoft's form recognition. So our R&D budget is a little bit smaller than Microsoft's R&D budget. So we use Microsoft's form recognition and their cognitive services. And what we're doing is we're training documents, forms in particular. And because we have a large presence in healthcare, we'll speak a little bit about healthcare. So a patient registration form or an order form comes across, like let's say an MRI order form. So if my specialist orders an MRI, but I have to go somewhere else to have that MRI performed, that order form gets faxed from one place to the other. So now imagine that fax lands on the receiving side, and we can pull out of it. We know that it's an MRI order form, so we can put that into the orders workflow versus a registration workflow versus an accounts receivable workflow. We can automate that process. We can also pull out things like patient first name, patient last name, date of birth, an MRN number, which automates some of the things like indexing a patient record, doing a lookup to see, does this exist in my EMR today? So all of these different work streams that you can start to think about automating, because we're delivering a payload that turns that unstructured data of just document landing into structured data of OCR and name value pairs, first name, last name, date of birth, things of that nature. So really changing the nature of what it means to receive a fax when it comes with all of this extra information around it, versus just, people still think of fax as the curly piece of paper, right? So way beyond those days.
It does. So that's the image you get in your head when you think fax. You think of, I'm getting a little leg cramp here. You that curly paper and it was coded and all that. But now you've got, the stuff that you're talking about, really, it sounds well beyond fax. It sounds, it sounds like document capture, document management more than anything, right? So just a different way to categorize it. But, you've got the name fax, and that's kind of your heritage, and so you're kind of coming at, but you are coming at these technologies, these services. Capture is huge right now, right? And everybody's trying to figure out how to digitize their paper. What's the easiest way I can get my content, get all these filing cabinets, right, scanned, and have that data either saved safely and accessible to everybody, or take that next step, which is, it sounds like what you guys are actually doing, which is having being able to scan a document, or in your case, use the fax technology to scan, grab the content from the different portions of the document and route them to the different repositories where this data is being stored, that data is being stored, and so really interesting. And so AI plays into this, and the more sophisticated this gets, where's it going to go?
Yeah, so really where you go from here is you start taking things like, instead of just a paper-based form that's going back and forth, and it doesn't have to be paper-based, right? We use the term paper, but a PDF document is still a form and would be referred to as paper-based. And we're turning that into the AI technology that we have today. Where we'll go tomorrow is we'll support things like FHIR messages, HL7 messages, X12 messages, 270, 271. So there's all of these different data types and data message types in terms of where healthcare goes in terms of supporting interoperability. You need to be able to take a CCDA and have it go from point A to point B, right? A clinical documentation architecture, CCDA. But how do I convert that if I have this document today and I need, and the receiver over here wants it to be in format A versus format B versus format C? We do that today with our faxing technology. We will actually ping the receiver before sending a document, and we'll understand, can they receive a colored PDF? Yes or no? Does it have to be a black and white 200 DPI pixelated image? We will send whatever the receiver can receive. And so we'll take that same technology that we have today in the fax world, and we'll convert that over to this notion of a secure document delivery and build out the network effect of our secure exchange network and say, this person needs to receive an HL7 message. This person needs to receive an X12 message. This person needs their data formatted into 270 response. And there's all of these different data types that exist. And we can send documents across in whatever data format needs to be, from one sending entity into the other receiving entity. And so really taking another leap forward in terms of interoperability.
Wow. Cool stuff. Very cool stuff. It's kind of fascinating to learn how much, when I started working with you guys and we started focusing on fax, because that was, kind of the entry level, right? That's the sort of introduction to who is etherFAX. It's we're 6 million. Is 6 million endpoints, you said, right?
Yep, 6 million plus and counting.
And that's just crazy. But then when you delve into what you're doing on top of it and where it's going, and especially how AI plays into that and sort of enhances everything and allows you to just keep pulling different things together with the BPO and the workflow, all that. It's kind of mind bending in a way. It really it's very cool, and we work with a lot of document capture companies as well, and ECM companies, and just a completely different direction you're coming in from, and it's a very useful and credible way to do it, right? It's proven. It's been around forever. Like Paul says, it's a cockroach that won't die. And it's just a technology that seems antiquated, but there's still a lot of money on the table. And you guys keep from the development that you're putting out there, you're adding a lot of opportunity out there for resellers. So
the technology still exists and it's proven and it works well, but that doesn't mean we have to keep using it in the same way, right? So we can reinvent what it means to send a fax while still calling it a fax, as much as we hate the term.
The beauty of this is to me, is that these devices that enable this technology are literally in every single office.
Absolutely right.
Planet, I mean, everybody has some type of printer, MFP, some way to, and generally there's a scanner involved. And if that stuff is, if you have one of these devices, one of these MFPs, all-in-ones, any of those, through that technology you mentioned earlier, you can tie into this. And whether you have a fax machine or not, built into there, a fax board or not, there are ways for you to work this technology and for you to tie that in for any of your customers. So, the ability to go back to a customer, in my book, is always something that I think is always just give that rep a reason when they're having a bad day, when you're sick of banging on doors, maybe go visit some of your current customers and say, how are you doing these things? How are you, what's your workflow look like? Because all you have to do really is come in and add a module, add a, upgrade, and suddenly you're selling a software program and you're getting stickier with the customer. They're becoming more reliant on you. So great software, and a part of, appreciate you taking the time to talk about the AI and some areas of the company that, we knew you did, but we didn't know much about.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity.
So Ben, this was awesome. Any last shout outs, anything you want to, any last message, maybe a hi to Paul, the boss, or anything?
Well, I mean, you should always say hi to the boss, right? But certainly for any of your listeners, we'll be at HIMSS in Las Vegas. Check out our website, etherFAX.net. Come see us at HIMSS. We've got a nice booth there. So we're looking forward to spreading the word about, replacing fax with etherFAX.
Excellent. Well, I will help you get that word out, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to show our viewers and listeners what you guys are up to. But it's just you're a really fun company to follow, and thanks again for taking the time to chat with us today. Take care.
Thanks for the opportunity, Andy.
Bye bye, Ben.
Thanks.